welcome to the EUobserver chat show. MEPs talk about EU. Joining me here today to discuss the topic of Acta is MEP Pavel Strzelecki from the EPP group here in the European Parliament, Helmut Scholz from the European United Left group here in the European Parliament, and Luigi Berlinguer from the Socialists and Democrats here in the European Parliament. Thank you all very much for joining me here today to discuss Acta. Okay. And thank you very much for watching. So without further ado, let's talk about EU. Now, the European Parliament, as you might know, is getting ready to ratify this controversial Acta agreement this June. But you might have seen in the last few months there's been protests all over Europe and online against this, people saying no. And this week there was a petition signed, 2.5 million people signed that petition and sent it here to the European Parliament in Brussels saying no to this Acta. Before we start the debate with our three MEPs, let's have a little clip of a video that I filmed here a few weeks ago in Brussels to see why these protests are so against this agreement.
First of all, Acta is a project of law which has not been created for the good of citizens.
I think that it is against all rights. It is making big companies. It is, in fact, it is a law, a treaty that has been planned by companies and governments without that anybody knows it.
I want to start now with Mr. Scholz. Your party is on the side of these protesters. You've written to the Trade Commissioner, Karel de Gucht, saying that you're against the Acta Treaty, saying that it's an invasion of privacy. But the Commission has written back or has said that it's not the case. What's your message to them right now?
I would say that the protests and also the petition, which has given with its 2.5 million signatures, is saying that it is an opportunity of evolution to democracy. Alec Ross, one of the councillors of Mrs. Clinton, the State Secretary of the United States, said that the power is shifting. It's coming from up to down, so that it's not anymore the institutions alone, but the citizens have to decide what is going on. And they are caring about the freedom in internet, they are caring about their personal interest, and I think that is the issue. And alone my team has answered 1,500 mails for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, it is expressing that there is a growing interest in how to deal with certain decisions made by the Commission.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Acta was unheard of before the start of this year, and the European Parliament maybe as well to some people, but suddenly we're seeing over 2 million people signing a petition here. This is something that's unheard of. Yeah. And Martin Schulz, the President of the Parliament and the Socialists from your group, he's also against this treaty.
I wouldn't say absolutely against. The position of S&D group, the Socialist group, is against a part of the treaty and against the situation that European Parliament cannot say out anything else but yes or no. But this is sort of compelling situation and we cannot accept it. In this frame, we cannot accept it in this frame because we want to save what is good. For instance, the struggle against counterfeiting, because this is really against consumers and ordinary people and young people. But not only the struggle against counterfeiting is in the treaty. And if you have to take the whole box together, this is not a condition for a parliament to accept.
What about the EPP group? They're actually in acceptance of the treaty, but you're in the minority and you don't agree with it. Why is that?
Yes, I'm here in two capacities. On one hand side, I'm a member of EPP group, and 2 weeks ago we had a very interesting, very moving discussion within our fraction in the European Parliament, and majority of our colleagues support Acta. And of course, nobody can neglect their arguments, and you have mentioned that. If you are talking about struggle against counterfeiting, if you are talking about fight against piracy, that is clear. So we all are in favor of rule of law. We all are in favor of those who possess trademarks or intellectual property rights. That is clear. However, the problem is that Acta itself is a very, very bad international agreement. And now I'm speaking as a member of Polish delegation to EPP, and we are against. And we are against from following reasons. First, because in our opinion, this document, this agreement is completely unclear. It uses not well-defined phrases. For example, nowhere the issue of commercial scale is defined. So how can we regulate something what is not defined? Then there are legitimated concerns regarding, for example, the transfer of personal data. Then there is a completely unclear issue of personal use in internet. So how you can fight against piracy in internet if you don't define something what is defined in real life, like personal use of intellectual property rights. So our approach is, first, we have to define all of these issues which are unclear. We have also defined personal use in internet, and then we can regulate how to enhance this intellectual property rights in internet.
And all of this must be done in a transparent way. I mean, the protesters, one of the main things that is frustrating these protesters is the secrecy and the lack of transparency with these negotiations on the Acta. It first came to light thanks to a WikiLeaks document back in 2010. Do you think that the protesters are against this Acta because of this lack of transparency? Do you think the Commission needs to change its tune on this?
I guess it has a certain role of playing this factor, because 1.5 years ago I already said to the Commissioner de Gucht, when we discussed for the first time, I think in the European Parliament, in deep the already ongoing negotiations on the Acta agreement before the signature, when the Parliament has repeatedly asked for having access as Parliament to what is on the table of the negotiators, that he should not wonder if this secrecy is creating suspicion towards what is negotiated. Because we have, I think that is normally in our days, we have to be transparent in what we are doing. If we are criticizing that the people are going away from political involvement of themselves into decision-making processes, then it is a follow-up that policy is not taking seriously the requests, the problems, the views of normal citizens. And for example, the data protection is a very important issue, just was have said, and I fully share the view of the European Data Protection Supervisor, who has criticized the Acta way of negotiating and the conclusion. And I guess in this way we have to be much more seriously, and probably just now we will have to live with the result of this secrecy of the negotiating. Mm-hmm. Of course, I also want to say that it's a complex material, and we have to defend the rights of authors. The author's rights is an essential issue, but it should not be limited by an agreement which is giving more rights to the interests of Sony than for the data protection of a citizen.
So, Mr. Rillinger, if it's rejected, what will happen?
This is up to the court. The court will say the last word about it, but it is not the most important thing, because the most important thing is that Acta is two things together. One is the anti-counterfeiting struggle, and this is correct, and we must be very firm on it. Second, they want to introduce in European law something regulating the new copyright in the web and so forth. And since the Commission hasn't been able to present a proposal since long, he has continuously postponed his commitment. He has tried to find the way through an international agreement. We have to decide within Europe what is the new copyright. And we have 2 points. One, work of anybody must be remunerated. This is my philosophy. And also, artists' work must be remunerated. But the wider access to the net must be also supported. And we must find a sort of balance between the right of artists, but also the possibility, since the market now includes millions and millions of people, not few books or few discs or few records or few films, but a great quantity of consumers, you can give an access very low price, even legal access, but something that could really support a very wide access to culture.
Mm-hmm. But the process is going to take very long, because we've seen the Parliament this week has also referred Acta to the European Court of Justice, just like the Commission. So this whole process could be postponed until after summer.
We have just in the inter meeting of the coordinators of the inter committee just discussed how to deal, and we want that the International Trade Committee of the European Parliament is suggesting the plenary to appeal separately to the European Court of Justice for the issue, that we continue to work on the contents of the whole issue, so that we are analyzing what is really behind. And let me add one point which I think is out of the public awareness yet, that not Acta itself is the biggest danger. The biggest danger is the legislative procedure behind Acta. So we are, for example, already discussing and voting on other instruments which are linked with IPR. So, for example, the customers regulation on enforcement of intellectual property rights. It means, what does it mean for the generica trade for developing countries? What does it mean for other issues related to these customs issues? So the IPR problem is a big one, and so the legislative measures we have to take should be also checked very seriously by us as European parliamentarians, as well as by the public.
And all through the process you will have protesters keeping an eye on you. I believe there's another protest planned here for the first weekend of May. It's a Saturday, so there'll be no MEPs in the building, but there will be hundreds of Belgian protesters outside the building here saying no to Acta.
But maybe some members of parliament are between them.
Possibly. We'll have to wait and see. Well, thank you very much for coming in here today to talk about Acta, and thank you very much for watching. We'd like to hear a comment from you. You can email us at video@EUobserver.com or leave us a comment after this video. Thank you very much, and goodbye and take care.